What we saw this week at the Capitol was ugly, but let's put it into perspective just a little bit. The number of people who pushed their way through barricades was a tiny fraction of the people who went to Washington to protest. And those people should be held accountable for the laws that they've broken. But if this were a bunch of lefties who pushed their way into a senator's office during the Brett Kavanaugh protest or blocked senators from getting on an elevator, the media would be treating this story very differently. Now, my first video after the election was called Why We're Suspicious and Why You Should Care. I pointed out that poll watchers who were denied doing their duty, and the illegal electioneering that went on in Philadelphia, and the states that changed their election laws unconstitutionally needed to be taken seriously by Democrats and their media, or bad things could happen. In a subsequent video, I pointed out how Joe Biden should embrace an investigation into the irregularities of this election. That is, if he truly wanted us to come together as a nation. But of course, Democrats don't want us to come together as a nation. We've seen evidence of that for the last 4 years. Division is their biggest political weapon, and the people who pushed their way into the Capitol building gave them a lot of ammo. Besides a few people like this, a guy without a bit of Trump gear and what looks to be a hammer and sickle tattoo on his hand, likely an Antifa member, most were Trump supporters. But most were let into the Capitol by the police. Maybe they thought that was a way to ease the pressure building at that barricade until reinforcements arrived. I'm not sure. But like I said earlier, we do know that the people who pushed their way through barricades were a tiny fraction of the people that went to Washington to protest. And I haven't seen one person from Trump on down say that what happened was okay. Not one Republican official has condoned any of this behavior, and yet the media will blame them and all of us. That's how this will play out. Some on the left are accusing Trump of insurrection, which is laughable. The fact that they use that word is a joke. First off, these dozens of people did not help Trump's case at all, so it wouldn't make any sense that he wanted these people to push through barricades and into the Capitol building. And second, let's look at the definition of the word insurrection. Merriam-Webster's defines it like this: an act or instance of revolting against civil authority or an established government. So by that definition, there were dozens of insurrectionists that pushed their way past the barricades. But by that definition, there have been thousands of insurrectionists rioting and looting across the country all summer long. But they were never described that way, were they? And the media certainly never blamed Democrats for their behavior. You see, that only happens to Trump and the Republicans. Perspective is important when trying to understand what happened this week. Dozens of people were out of control in a crowd this size. If this was the other way around, Democrats and the media would say that it was a mostly peaceful protest. They would question the police officer who shot a protester. They would downplay it while telling us how they understand why these people are so upset. But you haven't heard one Republican downplay this, have you? And that's not what I'm doing here either. People who broke the law should be held accountable. And they will be, which is very different than many of the insurrectionists that were arrested this summer, who were mostly released from jail with their charges dropped. Putting things into perspective is very important. It's crucial to our ability to understand the significance of anything. This incident was caused by a tiny fraction of the people at the protest. And a few of those people were there to cause problems and do not appear to be Trump supporters. Every prominent conservative and Republican who has spoken about this incident, including Trump himself, have immediately condemned it, which is a lot different than Democrats who pretend Antifa doesn't exist. I'm not going to allow Democrats and their media to use this incident as a defining moment in Trump's tenure. It's not. A few people got out of control, and they're responsible for their own actions. I'm not going to blame Trump for the actions of a few of his supporters. Just like the Bernie guy who shot up a group of Republicans wasn't blamed on Bernie. But if that were the road we had to go down, If you want to tell us someone else must be responsible for the actions of the dozens of people who forced their way into the Capitol building, then the fingers would be pointed at Democrats and their media first. 4 years of lying on Donald Trump and his supporters is the first reason why people who were at the protest are angry. I mean, James Hodgkinson, the Bernie guy who shot up that group of Republicans, wrote this a few weeks before he did what he did. Quote, "Trump is a traitor. Trump has destroyed our democracy. It's time to destroy Trump and company." Unquote. Where did he get such a notion that Trump is a traitor? From Democrats and their media saying that he colluded with Russia. And sadly, even after the 2.5-year investigation that found no collusion and the declassification of John Brennan's handwritten notes after a meeting he had with Obama explaining that collusion was made up to help take the focus off of Hillary's private email server, and people in the media caught on hidden camera admitting that there was nothing to the story, there are congressmen like Adam Schiff still pushing that lie. If there is someone to blame other than those who broke into the Capitol building themselves, the list is long and Trump ain't at the top of it. Look, the talk of the 25th Amendment and impeachment over this is the same kind of overreacting we've seen from Democrats throughout Trump's entire presidency. It's how they play politics, and it's a big reason why all of this happened in the first place. A friend of mine named Robbie Robinson summed this whole situation up like this. Republicans condemn political violence because it's wrong. Democrats condemn Republicans because Democrats are hypocrites. And that's the simple truth. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to become a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic, click on the link in the description and give what you can.